Today we're comparing two lights for the Glock G43X MOS, the Streamlight TLR7sub and the Streamlight TLR6. The Glock G43X MOS and the G48 MOS have been out since 2020, but their proprietary rail configurations have left them with a minimum of good light solutions. We just recently received the Streamlight TLR7sub, and we're going to run it through a series of tests to see how it compares to another popular weapon light for compact pistols. First, let's talk about pistols. The G43X MOS is chambered in 9mm, has a 3.4-inch barrel, and has a 10-round capacity, and it's fitted at a slim 1.1 inches in width. The G48 MOS is the same pistol, but has a longer slide and barrel at 4.17 inches. Either of these pistols make for a slim and potent carry package. In addition, the Shield Arms S15 magazine is available, and that provides 15-round capacity. This equals the ubiquitous Glock G19. The new slim generation of higher capacity pistols is popular because it carries well, shoots well, and has a reasonable capacity. I'm going to refer to both of these pistols collectively in this video as the G43X MOS. It's worth noting that the Glock G43X and the G48 were around for a while before Glock updated them to the MOS spec. The MOS versions add an optic provision milled into the slide, and a slim accessory rail. The rail change is the key reason why these pistols will be able to take a high output light, such as the TLR-7sub. One of the first lights that came out for the G43X MOS was the Streamlight TLR6. This is a 100 lumen light, and it has side buttons and an optional red laser. It uses CR1/3N batteries, and it attaches by bolting around the trigger guard and latching onto that MOS rail. It's a decent compact light choice. The Streamlight TLR7sub for the G43X MOS is very similar to the popular TLR7A, but has been slimmed down somewhat for these slim pistols. It has 500 lumen output, utilizes the same good rear switches as the TLR7A, and takes a single CR123A battery. By Streamlight's own specs, the TLR7sub has 5 times the output and 50% more runtime than the TLR6. Looking only at the specs, it may not be fair to compare the TLR6 to the TLR7sub, but we're focusing on lights that properly fit the G43X MOS. Most available lights that properly fit the rail do not have much output. And yes, we know that there are some hacks out there to mount an O light or a TLR7A to the G43X MOS, but all of these seem to be a compromise. The limited availability of proper fitting lights means that we selected the TLR6 simply as a point of comparison. We ran a series of practical and lab-style tests on these two lights to show how well they compared to each other, as well as how they each compared to their own spec sheets. While we like the TLR6 for its compact size and laser availability, the TLR7sub is vastly superior in a number of ways. Our first testing was to run through an outdoor course at night, and here we're looking to determine if the difference in output and beam pattern allowed us to see more definition at both a variety of distances as well as varied lighting conditions. When we looked through the garage, the TLR7sub provided good visibility in that center hotspot as well as sufficient flood to get good peripheral vision. We could see well beyond that Datsun pickup with good detail, and we could see around it. These are both important. If someone is in the garage, we would want to see them, their facial expressions, what's in their hands. and we'd also want to be aware of anyone else moving about. With the TLR-6, we had visibility in that hotspot area, but the hotspot was much less intense and it was much smaller, as well as that flood did not illuminate adequately the rest of that garage. When we moved around the shop to look at the chicken coop and under the overhang, the TLR-7sub was superior here as well. We could see the chicken coop and we could see under the overhang with the TLR-7sub. With the TLR-6, the chicken coop was only barely visible, and it's important to note that the video, you can't see the coop at all, but we could make it out with our own eyes. The difference in output is meaningful because this could be the difference between spotting a threat and missing it. Finally, outside, we approached a running vehicle that had its lights on. We approached with the pistol aimed inside to compare when we could punch through those headlights to see the seats inside the vehicle. With the TLR-7sub, the headrest came into visibility about 4 to 5 paces or 12 to 15 feet earlier than we could see them with the TLR-6. In this particular example, that 4 paces made the difference between being able to sidestep to the tractor for cover or being left exposed in front of the tractor. We performed indoor testing in a warehouse type space at 15, 25, and 40 feet with the TLR-7sub and the TLR-6. Again, the sub performed much better at revealing details of the subject. The TLR-6 didn't put out the light necessary to see clearly the details that matter, such as hands and facial expressions. This was further underscored when the subject was shining a flashlight on us. In the same space, we did try baseboard and umbrella lighting. We had a white ceiling and plywood floors, but both lights struggled. The TLR-7sub did manage to provide some effective lighting, but the TLR-6 was pretty much ineffective. In short, the TLR-7sub shone in our practical tests. The TLR-7sub performance advantage was confirmed in our lab testing. The first test we did measured lumens over time. Utilizing our integrating sphere equipment, we installed new batteries and measured each light. The meter is referenced versus the TLR-7A at just over 500 lumens and the Surefire X300 at just over 1,000 lumens. Under this calibration, the TLR-6 put out a max of just under 100 lumens at start, dropping to 65 lumens within 2 minutes, and then at 10 minutes it turned off. We have measured this a number of times, both with the same light and new batteries, as well as different TLR-6s. Each time, each one of them effectively turns itself off at 10 minutes. The light will turn back on later, but we have never found a TLR-6 to run for an hour continuously. The TLR-7sub put out a max of 475 lumens, gradually dropping over 7 minutes to about 340 lumens and then dropping and leveling off about 267 lumens at the 26-minute mark. The light, however, runs and runs. We have also seen this with the bigger brother, the TLR-7A. With the sub, at 1 hour, this light is still at 254 lumens. At 1.5 hours, it's at 125 lumens. At 2 hours, it's finally below 10% of the original output, dropping to 36 lumens. But at 2.5 hours, it's still putting out 10 lumens. That's dim, but still usable. We did notice, in comparison to the TLR-7A, that the sub puts out between 5 and 25% lower output. Perhaps this is due to size or cost considerations that drove some component changes within the light. Don't get me wrong, I am quite happy with the TLR-7sub performance, but I would have expected it to be virtually identical to the TLR-7A, and it wasn't. For more videos on weapon lights or low light defense, please subscribe below. We also measured lux output. We positioned the lights 12 inches from grid paper and then measured lux at every inch, which roughly calculates to about 5 degrees of angle for each move. The Streamlight TLR7sub had more than double the lux at the hotspot, which is actually a pretty good showing for the TLR6 because at 1/5 the output, the TLR6 in the hotspot got almost half the lux. But the TLR6 does drop off quickly as we move from center. For example, let's look at the 5,000 lux level. The TLR6 was just over 5,000 lux at 1 inch from the center. At 20 feet, this means that those 5,000 lux will be cast into a circle about 40 inches, which is slightly over 3 feet in diameter. The TLR7sub, on the other hand, provides that level of illumination 3 inches from center. At 20 feet, this is a 10-foot circle. We shot with the TLR7sub. We do like the controls on this light, which allow for constant or momentary activation. We believe that these switches are lifted directly from the TLR7A. The reach to these switches is a little bit shorter because of the shorter pistol, and that caused a little bit of a different grip when I needed to activate that light. I would need to train more with it to see if I needed to adjust my grip for that momentary activation. But when I was running with that constant activation, I was able to rest my reaction thumb on the rail attachment. This is somewhat reminiscent of that Sig gas pedal. I found this fine for about half a box of ammo, but the rail screw and the rail area were a little bit sharp, and I think that if I trained 500 or 1,000 rounds, I might end up losing some skin in my thumb and ending up with a bloody thumb. In contrast, the TLR6 buttons are on the side, and they don't lend themselves very much to momentary activation, because if you're pressing in from the side for momentary, you may drive that pistol to the side as well. In addition, that TLR6 is slick-sided, so there's nowhere really to rest my thumb. I just rest it in my normal place along the frame of the pistol. It's also notable that with the TLR6, that side button, your thumb may not stay on that during recoil if you want to use that momentary activation. Some people may like the fact that the TLR6 does not stick out beyond the muzzle of the pistol. Some people may also prefer the laser on the Streamlight TLR6. However, there is a contrary school of thought that this muzzle standoff is a benefit. If you're in a close quarters situation, you can press the light up against somebody and the pistol does not go out of battery. And as for the laser, the sub doesn't have one, but we suspect that Streamlight may come out with one in the future. If I've not made it obvious yet, I like the TLR7sub. I think that this is the best weapon light available today for the G43X MOS. We always appreciate more light, and this light provides significantly more than any other proper fitting light for the MOS. It is also significant that the sub puts out that light for hours. Some people may have property, homes, or businesses that take more than 10 minutes to clear. If you have a Glock G43X MOS or a G48 MOS and you don't need the laser, then the TLR7sub is your choice. Now, the TLR7sub was just released, so holster manufacturers are playing a bit of catch-up. At Works, we have worked day and night to design an excellent holster for you. We are proud to say that within a week of receiving the light, we have holsters available. This includes our M6 inside the waistband holster and our M7 outside the waistband holster. And we also have support for both right and left-handed shooters. You can get these holsters today at works.com or find the link in the description. We will also be working on molds for the Sig Sauer P365 with the TLR7sub. These may be available by the time that you're watching this video. I've carried the TLR7A. The sub adapts that same capable light to the current generation of slim pistols. If you're in the market for a light for your MOS, the TLR-7sub is the brightest light available today. Get yours and then go get your holster for it at works.com.